Hi, guys. Welcome back to Crime Time with Jess. Today, we're going to be talking about Wade Wilson and adoption trauma. I looked for videos on this to see if anyone else had looked at this, and I didn't find any. Doesn't mean they don't exist. It just I didn't find any. So this is something I've always thought about with Wade because how does a child that is described by his adoptive mother as pretty much perfect. It's a perfect child. Go from that to a unremorseful double murderer. If you do not know who Wade Wilson is, I will briefly tell you that he was a 25-year-old young man who murdered two women on the same day, Kristen Melton and Diane Ruiz, October 7th, 2019. He ran, he strangled, beat, and ran over Diane Ruiz multiple times. He was sentenced in 2024, August of 2024, to death for both of their killings. So he is a double death row inmate. Now, I often wonder with Wade, I've listened to so many of his phone calls that are released by a channel called Phone Calls with Prison. If you have not heard of this channel, please check them out. Um, they release, well, their name says it all. They release literal phone calls from prison. So we've gotten to see Wade talk to all of these women and con them and have this exaggerated, ridiculous laugh. And I've just often wondered the psychology behind him. How did he turn into this? How did he become this? Because I don't think that evil is born. I do think it is created. And there's many ways, that it can be created. But one thing that I never see talked about is his adoption trauma. And I call it adoption trauma because that's what they call it. Because every adoption starts with trauma for two out of the three parties that are involved. For the birth mother, this is a major traumatic event. For the child, no matter the age, because for this video, I specifically want to talk about children adopted between the ages of birth and 1 year. Wade Wilson was adopted at 3 months old. So no matter the age of the child, the loss is still felt. Even though they can't verbalize that loss, even though they can't really comprehend it or understand what is truly happening, it is still lost because, we've advanced in our understanding of babies and babies in utero. Babies in utero already know a mother's smell, their touch, the way that they move, all of the sound of their voice. So they come out, and this is their primary caretaker. For Wade Wilson, his birth mother, who was only 14 years old when she had Wade, just part of the reason she um, gave Wade up for adoption, but she had taken care of him for those first 3 months of his life. And then suddenly, he is given to strangers. And so for the birth mother and the child, this is a very traumatic event. But for the adoptive parents, it is almost the exact opposite. It's a celebratory event. It is a happy event. It's a joyous event. It's something to be very happy about. So they are the only ones feeling that way. And this isn't anything, this is not a stream against adoptive parents or anything of that nature. We're just looking at the facts of adoption and the impact that it could have on a person. So we're going to listen to Candy Wilson, who is Wade Wilson's adoptive mom, describe different things about Wade, his childhood, and who he is. And um, it's eye-opening because, well, we'll get there when we get there. And we're also going to listen to how Wade feels about his adoptive mother, who really, 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 by the way, wanted a baby boy. You know, she was almost like obsessed with this idea of having a baby boy. She had two biological daughters. So Wade has two sisters through his adoptive parents. But we're going to listen first to Wade quickly tell one of the random women that he talks to or did talk to in prison how he felt about his mother. It's very brief, but it's telling. Make sure my subtitles are on. Oh. Okay. So again, it's very brief.
Dude, I'm over here talking to myself.
Why?
Because I'm like, this is fucking unbelievable. Like, this is fucking crazy.
Oh my God.
What did you do?
Yeah, dude.
Did you like go for a run or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Nah, you know what? I called my mom, man, and I'm not like super close with my mom, but she's like older.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It was just really hard actually because when I just talked to her, I haven't talked to my mom in 3 months.
Okay, so the very first thing that Wade tells us is he is not close to his mom. I am not super close to my mom, and he makes it a point to tell her my mom's older, right? So the next thing that we're going to listen to is Candy's interview about Wade. And in this interview, she mentions that Wade was at her and her husband's 25th wedding anniversary. So I did a little math, and if let's just say they were married when they were 18. So let's just say they were married when they were very young. If Wade was 2 years old at their 25th wedding anniversary, that would put them in their early 40s. And Wade is 2 years old. So his parents are significantly older than him. Wade is 30. I think he's 30 or 31 present day. And so my guesstimation is that his parents are in their late 60s or possibly early 70s. So they're a lot older, and I do think that age gap, you know, is a part of the detachment he feels from them. Because again, he points this out to us that, or I keep saying us, but he points it out to the woman that he's talking to that she's older. The first two things he says, you know, if he was close to his mom or whatever, we would expect to hear him saying things like, you know, I talked to my mom and it was so good to hear her voice and I really miss her. And, you know, me and my mom used to do this or blah, 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 or my mom said that. But all we get from him is we are not close and she's a lot older. But now we're going to listen to her describe Wade, and it is a completely different thing. So, this is Wade Wilson's mother, Candy Wilson. She is, there's no one else that is going to talk on this video, and I believe it is 20 minutes long. somewhere around 20 minutes, 25 minutes, but possibly. But Jesse Tahanika, who Wade is dating amongst dating a bunch of other women in jail at this time. Well, I don't know who he's dating because his privileges have been taken away aside from letter writing. So, but Jessie Tahanika is his main girlfriend, I guess you could say. He more or less uses her as a secretary and shows no real interest in her intimately, whereas he has a lot of very highly explicit sexual intimate conversations with other women. But anyway, she is the one that created this Wade Wilson channel. She is the one that um, did this video with Candy. So here we're going to go ahead and go for it.
For the very first time, we bring you the story of Wade Wilson from the perspective of someone who knew him long before his name made headlines. This is an exclusive interview with Candy, Wade's mother, who opens up about the boy she raised, the struggles he faced, and the man he became.
I'm Candy Wilson. I am Wade's adoptive mother, and Wade is my third baby. We have two other children. We were married in 1973, and we never tried not to have a baby. And it was 7 years before my first child came, which was a...
Let me put the subtitles on, guys. Always need the subtitles. Okay, so, she's telling us right away that she had a little bit of trouble conceiving. She was married and they never used any contraception. She says they did not try not to have a baby. So it was kind of, when it happens, it happens. And it was 7 years before she got pregnant with her first daughter.
The daughter. And then it was 7 years after my first daughter, my second daughter came, which was of course, a girl. And
I want to take note here. I am going to stop a lot just so you guys know. But so she has a daughter. It takes her 7 years to conceive after marrying. And then after that first daughter, another 7 years goes by before she conceives again and has her second daughter. And I just want to look, if you pay attention to how people speak, it really matters. Okay. So she says, and of course, a girl. So there's a little hint of disappointment, like, my second daughter came, which was, of course, a girl. Little indication that, little disappointment. She wanted a boy. She already had a girl. She wanted a boy. So let's continue on.
we still wanted more children.
Okay, so this is a great question. She's asking her, why were you seeking to adopt?
About 5 years after my second was born, I ended up with a hysterectomy. So obviously I couldn't have any more, and we put in for adoption. We wanted more children. I would have loved to have a boy. That was just one thing on my mind constantly.
Okay, so she has a hysterectomy. She still wanted more children. We heard a little hint of disappointment that her second child was a girl. And listen to what she says. Read what she says here. I would love to have a boy. That was just one thing on my mind constantly. So she's just constantly thinking about having this third child, a boy.
We prayed about it, and it came to my attention one day that there was a young girl that she had been in my Sunday school class.
So, this is something here. She notices, it's brought to her attention that a former student of hers, a former Sunday school student, is pregnant, right?
That was pregnant.
Now we're going to go into the story of Wade's adoption.
And she was 14 years old, and her mom came to me and asked if I was interested in adopting her baby. Well, first she asked if we would take care of her baby after she had the baby for a couple weeks till she could decide what she wanted to do. And I thought, sure, it'd be like almost like playing house. I would love it. Anyway, Wade was.
You're going to see this word from Candy Wilson a lot anyway. And it is a word. It's a word for her anyway. She sort of dismisses things a lot with this word. But you're going to see it throughout this entire interview.
He was born in Tessasega. He was born, and she brought him over to her house, and he was an infant. He was as cute as a dumpling. I mean, we just fell head over heels for him. I was so excited. In fact, we went out, we bought a bassinet, bought a few baby names. Even though I knew we were giving him back in 2 weeks, I still wanted him to be comfortable.
Okay, so I want to stop right here. This really highlights what I was saying earlier about how this is such a celebratory, joyous thing for an adoptive parent. But if that adoptive parent doesn't take into account how this child, even an infant, would feel or what they might feel, there's such a conflict there. She's going out thinking, oh, this is so great. I'm going to buy him this bassinet and eat. She didn't even know that she was for sure keeping this child at this point. But she still did all this. But think about to an infant Wade. He's going from his mother, his biological mother, to total stranger's house. He has no, again, way to verbalize anything that he's feeling or any true comprehension of what is happening. But suddenly he's in a totally different bed, this brand new bassinet, surrounded with strangers. So that, I feel like this is the first trauma, the unconscious trauma, as they call it, because he wasn't fully conscious of it, but it was still imprinted on who he is. The feeling of that is still imprinted very early on. So
Time went by, and I guess it was about a week later, we realized how much we loved this little boy. I mean, we were so in love with.
She kind of contradicts herself here, because she said, the second she lays eyes on this cute little dumpling, they just loved him so much. And now she's saying it took about a week. But you're going to see a lot of hysterical verbiage from Candy Wilson. She's very over the top and hysterical in the way that she describes things, describes her own feelings. They loved him. They were so in love with Wade.
Him, and he looked at us with trusting eyes. We knew that he needed to be with us. So I went to the grandmother, who I knew from church, and she said that her daughter did want to give up the baby up for adoption, but she wasn't sure when. So at that point, we thought, well, this is probably out. We had put in for adoption before, and with the state, it takes a long time for adoptions to go through. So we prayed about it again, and we waited. Finally, I got a call from her lawyer, the mother's lawyer, the biological mother's lawyer. And she said to me, do you still want to adopt my baby? And of course, it came out of my mouth before I even probably thought about it. I said, yes. I took my lawyer, and she said, you have to get a lawyer. So I said, no problem. So we went and got a lawyer, and it turned out she was also a judge. She put the adoption through, and she said, since you have had the little boy for a week, she said, that's like foster care care, we can skip that and we can go right into adoption procedures. And that was around August of the year he was born, in May. And Wade was still very, very little, and the adoption was not going to be finalized until December 22nd of that year, the year he was born. And
So I'm going to stop right here and just talk about what I've learned about adoption and researching this. And it is that it is almost better for a child to be older when they are adopted than to be adopted as an infant. And I think certainly I myself always thought it was the other way around, that the earlier a child is adopted, the better, because, they won't have any memory, and all their memories and their life will be with the adoptive family and making it easier for them to adjust. But that has been founded to not be true. Um, kids that are a little older and have some idea of where they came from do a little better. They know what they're kind of going into. They have a better comprehension, whereas an infant or a child under the age of 1, again, has no true comprehension. They just feel the feelings of it, and they're not able to verbalize it. So then when they're adults, trying to go back and unravel those feelings is so much more difficult than if the child were older and adopted.
I thought, well, okay, we've got him in our house. We went out, we bought a crib and all the things baby needs. And we were so excited. She brought him over to us, and I remember her laying him on the couch. And the three of us, because my husband wasn't home at the time, he was a salesman, and he wasn't home, and my 2 daughters, myself, ran over to him. I was afraid we were going to smother him. We loved him so much.
And we're going to see again Candy Wilson's dramatic recountings of things or sayings throughout this, but so they run over to him. She's afraid they're going to smother him with love. They just love him so much. So to her and the daughters, this was again a joyous, happy thing. They're loving all over him, but to a baby Wade, his mother, his biological mother, the only human being that had cared for him, or it was suddenly gone, and she's replaced by these 3 strangers all over top of him. That is a traumatic event, an unconscious traumatic event.
And of course, that made the mom very, very happy, but also sad. I could see it in her eyes. I know she didn't want to give him up, but she felt that was the best. And, I had no problem with that.
This is where I feel that Candy Wilson has no understanding whatsoever and lacks empathy in the full picture of adoption. She's only seeing it through her lens. She just said that the mother, she could see, she observed the sadness in Wade Wilson's biological mother's eyes. And she knew that she didn't want to give her up, but she felt it was best. And Candy says, and I had no problem with that. She had no problem with the mom, feeling these feelings. She was just happy to have Wade. And so I think that lack of understanding, the lack of empathy matters here. Because I think there was a certain lack of empathy to Wade as well.
Anyway, she left, and we took.
And even with this, I had no problem with that. And anyway, she left. This was a very, again, I can't stress enough how traumatic of an event this had to be. This 14-year-old girl laying her baby down on a couch, and this mother and daughters, kind of vulturing over him. and having to walk away, the sadness, the pain that that would have invoked. And then for the baby, confusion, but having no way to verbalize that they're feeling confused and scared and where is my mom? So, but she just sort of says, I had no problem with that, and she left. That was all it was to her. She was gone, and now we took over.
Took over. Oh, we had clothes for him. We had toys for him. Everything. He was really not able to play as like the girls thought. They tried playing blocks with him. He's still little. He was still having tummy time. So Wade, he grew up and into this wonderful person. But anyway,
and here we are. Candy just described, they had everything for Wade, all the clothes, all the toys, and the girls were trying to play with him. They didn't really understand that he wasn't big enough to play blocks and things. But she tells us right here, but, Wade, he grew up and into this wonderful person. This interview was done after Wade was convicted of the murders, sentenced to death. But she just, that lie just flew right out of her mouth that Wade grew up into this wonderful person. We know that that is not true. Wade was very abusive to women that he had dated prior to these murders, beating them up, sexual assaults. He was not very good. There was, I remember one girlfriend in his earlier years that said that he was nice to her and never did anything to her. But as he got older, he became very violent to the women in his life. And his biological father also talks about how violent he was towards the many various girlfriends that he had, that they were always calling his biological father up and asking him what to do, that Wade had thrown them down on the ground, or he had punched them, or he had done this or that to them. So he did not grow up into a wonderful person. He grew up into a double murderer,
The adoption did go through on December 22nd, but the biological mom, had 1 year from December 22nd to the next year, December 22nd, to obtain him again. Now
I want to focus in on that word, obtain. So she's telling us that, Wade's mom had 1 year to come and take him back. But she uses this word, obtain him. And I think that's because for Candy Wilson, I am just theorizing, that she wanted a baby boy so bad. She told us earlier that it was a thought that was in her mind every single day, constantly. And she obtained that baby boy. And so, she's going to tell us how terrified she was that Wade's mother was going to take him away from her after she obtained him.
Changed his name from Anthony to Wade. My older daughter said, "No, Mom, we can't have anything like, Tom or Henry. We have to have a W." So I've always liked the name Wade, and I said, "Well, we'll call him Wade, and we'll name him Steven. Even though my husband's name is Steve, we'll name him Steven."
I think this is a little bit of an odd statement from her as well. She says, okay, we'll name him Wade. Wade's sister's name is Wendy, so I guess they were staying with W's. But she says, and we'll name him Steven, even though my husband's name is Steven. That's kind of strange, because most people name their kids after relatives in honor of them, or, because they respect them or love them or want to carry on their name. But she says, like, almost in spite of, even though my husband's name is Steven. So I think that she just liked the name Steven and despite her husband's name being Steven, she was still going to name her son that as well. Not because of, you know, so her baby boy that she wanted to obtain, even though her husband was going to share the same name with him, she still liked the name and gave it to him anyway.
Wade Stephen Wilson. And we all loved it, and that was great. Anyway, a year went by.
Do you see how she always does that too? And we named him Wade Steve Wilson. We all loved it, and that was great. Anyway, that year went by.
And
we got to get to the part where she's going to be hysterical, because this is really about her.
Mom never contacted us, but I can tell you one thing. Every time my phone rang, I was scared to death to answer it, because I just was afraid that she would call and say, I want him back. But she never did.
So she spent an entire year terrified that every time her phone rang, that Wade's mom was going to take him back. Take back the baby boy that she obsessed over wanting and then obtained. You know.
Well, he grew up, and with my husband's job, we moved around a lot. We were in quite a few cities in Florida. And we got to one point, we had moved to North Carolina.
I just want to stop here for a second as well. So the first trauma in Wade's life, obviously, being the week that he spent with the Wilsons, randomly. Unconscious trauma. Second major unconscious trauma was the adoption itself. And then she's describing a early childhood of instability. You know, they moved around a lot. They lived in a lot of different cities. So we know that a child's formative years, the ages of 0 to 3 or 0 to 5, imprint a person the most. So a lot of instability in Wade Wilson's life and unconscious traumas.
And Wade he was a stinker. He started kindergarten in North Carolina. And Wade was always very, very independent. When he first started kindergarten, and he said, Mom, you can't take me to school. I've got to take the bus. He's in kindergarten. I didn't want him to take the bus.
Okay, so I don't know how you guys feel about your children taking the bus. My kids all got on the bus for kindergarten. We were allowed to follow behind the bus. We were allowed to go into the school. We were allowed to take pictures of them at their desk, a little kindergarten desk. I cried for every single one of mine. And it's just this feeling of, you know, your little baby is getting older. They're in school now. And I don't know, it just always pulls on the mama's heartstrings and the daddy's too. But the way that Candy Wilson is about to describe how she feels, I think, again, shows a hysterical woman.
I thought, okay, you take the bus. I'll follow behind the bus and make sure you get to school. I mean, I was an absolute basket case.
She's a basket case. She's a basket case because her baby boy was going to kindergarten. I think it's a very exaggerated, hysterical way to describe yourself as feeling. You know, something that feels more appropriate is, you know, oh my God, it broke my heart that my little baby is growing up, or, you know, it just pulled on my heartstrings to see my little guy walk into the school, or, you know, an expression like that. But to describe yourself as a basket case indicating that you just shut down. You know, you shut down, you become a basket case. And I think that's an extreme reaction to your child starting kindergarten.
Well, I followed him to school. He got into class. It was wonderful. This was his very first day. He came home, but he didn't come home. He went on the bus, some other bus. I was frantic. My daughters, I said, I had one daughter going one way, one going the other way, and I went another way. Went to the school trying to find out where he was. Long story short, there was another child in his class that was very frightened. I was afraid that they couldn't, I think it was a boy, but he couldn't find his way home. So Wade said, I'll take you home. I'll go on the bus with you. So he went on the bus with his young boy, and the boy got off because his mom was waiting at the bus stop. Wade stayed on the bus. The bus driver saw this, and he called into the school, and so that's how we all connected again. But it had been a couple hours. I was a basket case. It was him.
So she describes herself again as a basket case, but I think this is a more appropriate time to describe yourself that way. If your child has been missing for a few hours, I would imagine that you would, be all over the place with emotions. So, more appropriate way to describe herself with this scenario, but this is twice now that we've seen her describe herself that way
Terrible.
when it comes to Wade.
So that's one of the things that he did. But as he got older, Wade was such a delight. He always brought me little dandelions every day because we were close enough to the schools that he could walk to school, and he'd hit them for me and he'd bring them in. And in fact, one time he picked a dandelion, got stung by a bee. I felt so bad. But he was such a caring child. I mean, there was no anger in him. He was always smiling. He was always happy.
So he was caring. She called him a delightful child, always happy, always smiling, bringing her flowers every day. How do we go from that to an unremorseful double murderer?
Loved him. I mean, he was really a good child. Things would happen at school, and Wade always stood up for the underdog. He was just...
So he was a hero. Everyone loved him. He would stand up for the bullied children. Just an absolute perfect child.
Even the teachers would say, Wade is so good. He's always doing this for us and doing that. We'd always volunteered to do the dirty work. He just did. He was a good kid. Other things that happened when we had Mother's Day, the school that he went to, they brought in some trinkets. Mother's Day pins, Mother's Day flowers, and everything.
I want to just point out that we've kind of heard this idyllic childhood and perfection of a child described by another mother, Cindy Watts. These two women share the same initials, but Cindy Watts also described Chris Watts as perfect. Just he was a perfect child. He did nothing wrong. People liked him. He was perfect. And that's exactly how Candy Wilson is describing Wade. Just an absolute perfect person that everyone loved. He helped the underdogs. He just did everything right.
And the children could buy them. Well, Wade picked out something, and I said, well, how much money do you need? He said, oh, you can't give me money. He said, I'm buying it for you. I have to earn it. So he did something. I can't remember what it was, but
I don't know if I exactly believe this part of this story from Candy Wilson, that Wade said, he needs to earn it, because I think that if he had said that, she would remember what he did to earn that money to buy her this brooch that she's about to explain that she had and she wore so proudly. But I would just think that she would remember what he did in telling this story, that he insisted he earned this money. Such a good kid. But I can't really remember what he did. But he bought me this brooch. But don't you think she would remember that, if she told him to, hey, take out the trash for a week and I'll give you $5 or something of that nature. And, she seems the type of mother that would boast about that, he took the trash out every single day just to get that money, to earn it, to buy me that brooch.
He did something and I paid him for it. And he went to school and he brought home, and I still have it, a beautiful little brooch. And it has an arrow and a heart in it. And it says, Mom. I wore that thing so proud. Anyway, Wade was a good kid. He was really good and very loving. Wade always came in to me when I was not feeling well, because as I got older, I had a lot of health problems. Wade always wanted to take care of me, because he looked forward.
Now let's think about what she just said here. Wade always wanted to take care of her. She's about to describe a 7, 8-year-old Wade. Like we talked about earlier, Wade's adoptive parents were significantly older than him. And so his mother had health issues, and she's telling us that, he wanted to take care of her. I don't know a 7, 8-year-old child that wants to take care of an ailing parent, or even really knows fully how to do that. So
To when he came up from school, me being in the kitchen, and when I wasn't, it would upset him. But when I was in the kitchen, he would come help me cook, and he even invented some recipes on his own. He would make something, and believe it or not, they were amazing.
Okay, so I want you to really think about what she is describing here. What she is describing is that she fell ill with whatever illnesses she had. Wade was used to her being in the kitchen when he got home from school. Suddenly, she comes down with these health issues, and Wade is taking care of her, and he's also coming home at 7, 8 years old, and she is going to tell us that that was his age, and he's making meals for himself and everyone else. Okay. But she turns this, what is probably also was a traumatic event for him, that his mother is ill, he's having to make meals for himself. Through his eyes, I can't imagine that he would look back on this time as he was so happy to take care of her and how he made these amazing meals. I imagine he would look back on it as a dark period for him, that he was alone and having to make these meals. But the way she describes it is this great thing, that he was just so wonderful. He wanted to take care of her, and he was making up these amazing recipes. And I want you to pay attention to how much she emphasizes things over the top. Everyone loved Wade's food, and it was just so amazing.
Recipes. My husband couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, because he was very young at the time. He was 7, 8 years old. We would eat the food, and everybody would say, "That is so good." So I really thought he was going to be a chef one day.
So what she took away from this was that Wade was going to be a chef. That his food was just so amazing, these recipes that, imagine a 7, 8-year-old child. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and I've certainly had 7, 8-year-old sons. And, they were able to make small things, but certainly not meals, and come up with all sorts of recipes. Maybe your child can do that. Mine did not. They made just very simple things. But he is cooking for the whole family. And I would just imagine that would be stressful. Trying to find different things to make and put together. I just imagine him making a goulash of whatever was available.
That was some of the things he did. Wade loved to go camping. Well, I wasn't a camper, but my husband loved to camp. And so he took my one daughter, my middle daughter, because the older one had gone to college. And he took Wade and my daughter up into the mountains in North Carolina, and they went hiking. They had a great time. They were out on like a 10-mile hike. Halfway through, Wade got so tired, my husband carried him on his shoulders. And they came home, and he said, "Oh, I'm so sore." Wade had an amazing time.
So she's describing an event she wasn't even at. Okay, and we're going to see this a couple more times from her. She's always the observer. She's never actually the participant. But she tells us at the end of this video that she knows Wade better than anyone. And I think she knew Wade the least. That is my opinion. I think there is some narcissism in Candy Wilson, some covert narcissism. I know that term is used a lot, but I think that there is, because these types of mothers do not ever see their children as individual people, their own person. They just see their child as an extension of them. And with some of the words that she used, obtain, that indicates like a possession of an object. She talks about that, and I just it's like she was obsessed with this idea of having this baby boy. She obtains him, and he is perfect. And she also very much describes herself as perfect. She had all of the things for him, all the toys, all the clothes, and smothered him with love, and it was just everything was perfect. Um, but again, Wade is having these experiences with his father and his sister. She's only giving a secondhand account, but telling us with absolute certainty how amazing of a time that they had, even though she wasn't even there. We've seen that with Don Wells. We've seen that with other people as well.
Only thing that happened, and I'm so glad I didn't know it at the time, about a week later, my husband told me they were walking by a river, and it had been raining, I guess, and there were a lot of rapids, and Wade was standing on the edge on the bank of the river, and my husband kept saying, Wade, get away from there, you're going to fall in, and you're going to hurt yourself. Well, he was a little boy, and he would get closer and closer. Well, sure enough, he fell in.
So I want you guys to take note that this major incident happened. Wade almost died. And her husband waits an entire week to even tell her about this. Now, why would that be? Why most people would call their spouse right away and recount this, and both spouses, be happy that their child is alive. This was an accident. He fell into this river and his dad saved him. Um, but them, withholding this from her for an entire week, I think it's because, again, she is a hysterical woman, and she tells us how she felt, and it's a pretty, extreme reaction given the context that we've heard from her already.
And the current started taking him downstream. My husband, he said I had to keep, calm about this and think what I was doing. So
he says, and we're going to hear stuff from Wade like this too. So the dad tells her, I had to keep calm. Something that I think he knows that she's not very good at. Okay. Again, which is why I think he waited an entire week to tell her about this incident.
My husband ran downstream a little ways where he could grab him, and sure enough, Wade came by and he grabbed him by the shirt and pulled him up, and Wade was coughing. Now, Wade swam at this point, but when you're in currents, I'm sure it's hard to swim. But my husband got him out, and he was okay. Because when my husband told me, I didn't know whether I wanted to kill my husband or Wade. I was
so her reaction is not, I asked my husband, why the heck did you wait a week to tell me? Or thank God he is okay. It's, when he told me, I didn't know whether I wanted to kill him or wait. This extreme reaction, and she has a lot of extreme reactions.
We had this happened. I thought, oh, I'm so glad I wasn't there. I would have been a wreck.
And here she is again describing herself as, she's glad she wasn't there. Most parents would have been like, oh, I wish I was there. I would have helped, or I would have tried to save him as well. But she's actually glad she wasn't there because she would have been a wreck, a basket case, perhaps.
Anyway, that's just a few things that happened. My daughter reminisced many times about things that with Wade when my 25th anniversary came. I've been married 51 years now, and when my 25th anniversary came, my elder daughter, middle daughter, planned a 25th anniversary party. Wade was about 2 years old at the time. And my husband and I went out shopping. We were out. When we came back, there was a surprise party. They had a pastor there that remarried us. We renewed our vows, and there was a cake and everything. And they dressed Wade in an outfit. He was probably just 2 or 3. They dressed him in like an 18-month outfit. I mean, it was just way too tight on him. And the poor baby, he walked up to me and he goes, "Mama, it hurts." It was so tight on him. I literally had to rip it off. And when I took him in the bedroom, I said, "Oh, honey, Mommy put some bigger clothes on you." But they loved him so much. I mean, my older daughter, is just used to come home from school, and the first thing she said wasn't, "Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. I'm glad to be home." It was, "Where's Wade?" It was always, "Where's Wade?"
You know, this is another part of the reason that I think there is some narcissism in Candy Wilson, because her describing her daughter coming home, and of course she's going to be excited to have a new baby brother, but coming home, not saying hi to anyone, just wanting to see the baby. When you have a narcissistic mother and the golden child, Wade is the golden child, clearly, um, the other children try to fall in line. And if they love the golden child too and show attention to what they think their mother wants them to, their mother will love them as much. So I wonder if that is what was happening.
My middle daughter grew up with Wade more than my older daughter did, and they would go out in the back of the apartment we lived when we were looking for a home up in North Carolina. We lived in these apartments, and there were some blackberries that grew behind us. And Wade and his sister would go out and pick these blackberries and bring them in, and we would make pies and little cupcakes and loaf bread and everything. And they had such a ball. He came in one day and he had all this all over his face. I said, "Did you put any in your mouth?" I mean, they were in his eyes, they were on his forehead, they were on his cheek, on his chin and his mouth. He had so many blueberries. I thought he was going to be sick. But anyway, he loved that. He had so much fun. We used to take him fishing in one of the neighborhoods that we lived in, that we had fish. By this time, my middle daughter she was off at college, and
So now it's just Wade at home with his much older, parents. And I'm not an ageist, so I'm not coming down on anybody about their age, but I'm pointing this out because Wade did. Again, that's the first 2 things he told us about his mom. They are not close, and she is older. And I think that this did really affect the relationship and the closeness that he did not feel with them.
We used to take Wade periodically fishing, and he would have such a great time. He didn't have to
Why?
catch anything.
That makes no sense. She says they would take him fishing, and he had such a great time. He didn't have to catch anything. Well, that's the whole point of fishing. That's the highlight of fishing, is catching something. But he had such a great time that he didn't have to catch anything. Doesn't really make any sense.
He would just sit there and tell me about the fish he's going to catch, and tell his dad, "This is great, Dad. I love it." I mean, he could put the worms on the hook or whatever they were. I'd just sit there. I'd sit there with the bug spray. That's all I would do. But his dad and Wade had a great...
Again, I want to point out, this is the second story that she's telling us she was just a bystander. She didn't do anything but hold the bug spray. So she's watching Wade do this. She's watching Wade and her husband do this. She's just an observer. She's not actively participating. Same thing with the camping. She wasn't even there. She wasn't participating at all. She wasn't even observing. But she's recounting the story as if she was watching it herself.
every time. They would fish for hours, hours on hours. There was one time Wade came up from school, and I think he was probably in 7th or 8th grade, and he came in and he said, Mom, there's a big snake outside.
Okay, another example of her hysterical personality. Big snake. Do we really think that Wade said it like this? Maybe he did, but I don't know. She tends to repeat words to exaggerate. She won't just say, I loved him. She'll say, I loved him very, very much. This is a big snake. Wade had such an amazing time. He really did. He had such an amazing time. You know,
I thought, oh, I'm sure he's exaggerating. He's probably not that big. I went outside and looked.
it's kind of funny that she says, oh, I thought he was exaggerating, because I think she exaggerates a lot. So
It was the largest copperhead. No, it was a water moccasin. I'm sorry. It was a water moccasin. The largest water moccasin I'd ever seen. I've never seen one so big. I called my husband.
And, this big snake. And it turns out it was the largest one she had ever seen. She had never, ever seen one so big. She had to call her husband, and he came home from work because the snake was just so big.
Came home from work.
Outside. Okay, I mean, you just could have, went in your house and called your husband and called pet control or whatever to come take care of that. But, again, she's just a very hysterical person.
And the neighbor next door, they tried to kill it. It was huge. The snake's head was as big as my fist. And Wade wanted to get closer and closer, and I'm pulling him away. Wait, don't get too close. Don't get too close. Wade had no fear of reptiles or dogs or anything. He was just that way. When we went to the zoo, he would stand by the giraffes, and they would lean over the fence and lick his head, whatever it was. It didn't scare him. No, nothing. The only thing that frightened Wade was when we would swim. My husband always used to throw my 2 daughters up in the air and then catch them in the water, and they just loved it. Well, Wade said, me next. My husband picked them up, threw them up high. Well, his arms flared out, and his eyes got as big as bugs.
I think that's significant. I know this sounds just like an innocent story of a child being thrown up in the air and getting a little afraid, but she describes him as a fearless child. Nothing scared him. Animals, snakes, none of those things scared him at all. But the one thing that scared him was his father throwing him up and away. And the release of the parrot and him being on his own. I really feel like that goes back to his unconscious trauma of being, quote unquote, thrown away or adopted out or given away. I think it's these little things like this that go unnoticed, but when you look back on them, you're like, you really think deeply about them.
He was scared to death. He got in that water and he said, Mommy, no more. He was so scared. And at that point, I realized he's not too much of a daredevil. And we would take him to Disney, and he would go on Splash Mountain. He would be okay. Thunder Mountain scared him a little bit. He didn't like Space Mountain. But as he got older, he did go on Space Mountain. That was one of his favorite ones. As he got older, he'd go on with his sister. They'd stand in line, and I would sit outside because we had annual passes. And I'd watch them. They'd go on this thing for 5.
And this is the third example she's giving of, again, just being a bystander and an observer, not an actual participant. She would watch them for hours go on this ride. And And, she's going to tell us how great of a time that Wade had, but she wasn't actually standing next to him or talking to him. She's just sitting afar watching them just get on. So he's really having this experience with his sister, not his mother.
5 or 6 times, and I'd say, "Aren't you guys tired yet?" I mean, I was getting tired watching them. They had a great time.
So I this part, gets me because she's supposed to be telling us about what she feels present day, what she feels now. But listen to what she actually tells us.
We love him so much, more than you can ever imagine. I hope and I pray every night, almost that this is a nightmare, that I'll wake up from this.
So she's exhibiting a little bit of denial that she's hoping to wake up from this nightmare, but you would expect maybe to hear that, some empathy for the victims' families, of how sorry she feels for them. Maybe some wondering from her of, I'm not really sure where this really went wrong, or, and some, sadness, of course, because her 2 women are dead and her son is essentially a walking dead man. But we don't hear any of that from her.
I love him. I miss holding him. I know he's a big boy. I know he's not a baby anymore.
And here we go back to the baby boy that she obtained. She's fantasizing about wanting to hold him like a baby again. Even though and I know that it's normal for us mothers to feel like our children are always our babies. I feel like that about my own children. But I just think when it comes to Candy Wilson, there was always this want, need, obsession with having a baby boy. And she still wants that,
But I miss holding him. He's still my little baby. And I'll always remember the day that we adopted him. We changed his name. My mom and dad were alive at the time, and they came into the courtroom, and my husband was there, and my 2 girls were there, and myself and Wade, and I had him on my lap, and he was just playing with a keychain. And when the judge said, "Well, he's now yours, for better or for worse, sickness or for health," and I never thought there'd be a worse like this.
That is the only thing that we're going to get from her about what he did. Just this blip that I never thought there would be a worse like this. But she doesn't say who the worst is for. I guess the worst is for her. Is it for Wade? Is it for the whole family? Is it for the victims' families? She doesn't clarify that at all. But again, we are supposed to be hearing from her how she feels today. And we're not hearing about that. We're hearing about how she felt the day he was adopted and that sort of thing. No expressed empathy for the victims' families at all.
The only other one that I could think was bad was Wade was.
And you get the sense right here because she says the only other one that I could think was bad. So I think she's thinking of bad stories to tell about Wade, which is, I guess she's been telling us bad stories about Wade, but she frames them in the most positive way. She takes this bad situation and makes it just sound so great that Wade's going to be a chef, but the reality is he was a 7-8-year-old child cooking meals for the whole family, and throwing together whatever, he could.
Up in North Carolina with us, and I put him in a sleeper because he's so little. He's probably about 4. Put him in a sleeper and tucked him in, and we always prayed before we went to bed. And I sang to him, "Jesus loves me," and I can't carry a tune for anything. But he loved to hear me sing.
Just listen to what she says here. Again, she's supposed to be telling us about present day. She is not at all. She is telling us right now how wonderful of a mother she is. And again, she's supposed to be telling us some type of bad story about Wade, because she says the only other bad one I can think of. And then she starts telling us how, she can't sing, but Wade loved to hear her sing. And she's singing him a Jesus song. So we're just hearing how good of a mother she was and how much Wade loved her. Where's the bad part? The bad story that we're supposed to be hearing?
And later that I was looking at him, and his lips were turning blue. And I got nervous, and I said to I screamed to my husband, "Come in, quick, quick!" And I said, "Look at Wade's lips." He said, "Oh no, I think he's fine. He had a lollipop." And I said, "No, we brushed his teeth. He's fine. He's not fine." I said, "There's something wrong." So I started watching him. He was laying there, and he had labor breathing. And I guess moms know things that dads don't realize. And at that point, I grabbed him and I said, "We are going to the emergency room." Got in the car. Sure enough, he had pneumonia. Had to stay overnight. They did an IV with antibiotics, and that was the scariest time because I thought that I was going to lose him.
It was scary because she thought she was going to lose him. I don't hear anything from her that, I felt so bad for Wade. He was so sick. I was so happy that, when he started feeling better, or it was so scary. She was the hero. She was the one that insisted he go to the hospital. And then it was scary because she thought she was going to lose him.
I really was. Yes, he was adopted, and he didn't grow under my heart, but he grew in our hearts. He knew he was adopted, and we had a closed adoption. We tried to make this as easy as possible for him.
So, now it's about Wade. Now we had a closed adoption because that would be the easiest for him. I don't believe that's why they had a closed adoption. I think that a woman that spent an entire year, hang on just a second, guys. Terrified to, answer her telephone because the baby that she obtained might be taken back. I think that woman very much probably wanted a closed adoption, and not because it was what was easiest for Wade. It was what was going to be easiest for her. And, I think that this is a very extreme case, obviously, but I think adoptive parents really, I don't know if they're required to take classes to understand how the adopted child might feel, or, what they can do to minimize that or to understand them better. But from my understanding, from my research that I've done on this, open adoptions are better for the child. It is better for them to be able to see their biological parents, maybe once, twice a year, but they are aware of where they come from. They have a sense of that, um, as opposed to nothing, no contact with the biological parents. It is said that that's more harmful, or can be more harmful to the child. And yes, there are people, I've read their stories where they said, they didn't find out that they were adopted until they were 18. They had no contact with the parents, and they were perfectly fine and happy with the life that they lived. But those people exist as well. But for most adoptees, um, they all share these similar feelings of abandonment, and they don't quite understand where it comes from because they don't know they're adopted, but they just have this feeling of it, or a sense of somehow they don't fit into their family. No matter how loving the families are, how accepting they are, they still just have this feeling that they don't quite fit, that they are a square trying to fit into a hole. So A lot of them described those feelings and then described finding out that they were adopted and it making sense why they felt that way, but they still had a lot of trouble unraveling that and coming to terms with it and trying to fix it, so to speak. You know, so I imagine Wade, she says that he knew he was adopted, but she doesn't tell us when he found out.
I told the biological mom that she could write him a letter, whatever she wanted to do, which she did. It was a beautiful letter. She wanted me to read it. And she said, we gave the Wilsons you because I was too young, I couldn't afford to raise you, and just beautiful things.
Listen to that sentence. The adoptive mother the biological mother of Wade Wilson is writing him this letter and telling him why she had to give him away. And it's, because she's young and she couldn't afford him. But Candy Wilson describes this as, just beautiful things. It was a beautiful letter with just beautiful things. Those are not beautiful things. Those were probably it was probably very difficult for the biological mother to write. And it was probably very difficult for Wade to read, but to Candy Wilson, this was beautiful. It's a beautiful letter, beautiful things.
And she said, you can give it to Wade whenever. We thought 18 was a good time. He was old enough that they might understand it.
So here she says that, they had agreed that when he was 18, they were going to tell him because they thought, he might be able to understand it then. But clearly he found out much younger. She doesn't clarify when, but I'm going to speculate that it was around the age of 15 or 16 because of what she's about to say.
Turned out, when he was about 15, 16, he started having an identity crisis. I could see it. That's when his hormones were changing, and he kept saying, well, why didn't they want me?
Okay, so she frames this as, he started having this identity crisis around 15, 16 years old. His hormones were changing, but he kept saying, well, why didn't they want me? So teenagers are going through a rough time. We all know that. We were all teenagers at one point in our life. We've all probably had teenagers. So, it's a lot. There are a lot of hormonal changes and you're trying to figure out who you are and all that good stuff. But I don't think that Wade's hormone changes were the reason for his identity crisis. It's clearly because, or it seems that it's because he found out at 15 or 16 that he was adopted, and he's kept asking them, why didn't they want me? So that sounds angry almost, but why didn't they want me? Why did they give me away,
And so at that point, we gave them the letter, and I said, if you want to meet them, I will take you. Your dad and I will take you to meet them. I have no problem with that. I said, honey, we love you, and we always know you love us. But if you want to meet them,
we love you, and we always know you love us. But if you want to meet them, we were not there, so we don't know what tone she used when she said this to him. We don't know how the context. We don't know. We don't know if she said, I know that you love us, but if you want to meet them, we'll take you. Or if she said it in a genuine, loving way of, we love you and we know you love us, and we will absolutely take you to meet them if that's your wish. So I don't know, but
we will do that. No, I don't want to meet them. I'm not interested.
What a strange reaction. So she tells us that he's repeatedly asking, why didn't they want me? They give him this letter that they were supposed to give him at 18, but instead they're giving him this letter at 15 because she leaves that entire part out of how he found out he was adopted. what was his reaction to this? I don't think it was a good reaction. He had an identity crisis, and was having an identity crisis. But when she says that, she offers to take him to meet his parents, he's not interested. But we know from Wade's biological dad that the day he turned 18, he sought his mother out. He sought his biological mother out. So I don't know how much of this is true, or this is her perception, or just her recounting of it. I would really like to have known what Wade's reaction to finding out that he was adopted was. And again, I don't think it was a good reaction.
So, I kept asking him, and I didn't want to make it hard on him, but I didn't want him to think he was making it hard on us.
Okay, so she keeps asking him over and over and over again, do you want to meet him? Do you want to meet him? Do you want to meet him? And she says it's because, she didn't want to make it hard on him. Well, don't you think that's making it hard on him? Badgering him. Do you want to meet him? I'll take you. I'll take you. If that's really what you want to do, I'll take you. You're badgering him when he keeps telling you no, allegedly. And that she didn't want him to think he was making it hard on them. I think that she was checking constantly. Do you want to meet him? Does he want to meet him? Oh my God, does my baby boy that I obtained want to go meet these people that I saved him from? So I don't think she was asking him repeatedly for this reason that she gives. I think she was asking for herself.
So, but he didn't want to do it. We kind of left it there. And
Wade struggles.
I think he still had an identity crisis for a long time. At that point, I remember saying to Steve that we need to see a doctor.
So she says he has this identity crisis for a long time. We don't know how long a long time to Candy Wilson is. Is a long time a year, 2 years, 6 months? How long is a long time? But either way, she describes him having this identity crisis, even though she says that he is not interested in meeting his biological parents. He continues with this identity crisis for a long time. And then she's going to be the hero again that makes sure that he sees a doctor.
And we took, of course, insurance. You have to take him to a family doctor first, which we did. And I told the doctor that I felt like Wade was changed differently. And of course, he kept saying,
that's an interesting statement from her, too. She told the doctor that Wade was changed differently, but she gives no other context to that description. What changed him differently? I'm going to heavily suspect it was finding out that he was adopted, and that's what changed him differently. So, interesting verbiage from her. But I do think that this was a major turning point for Wade. And now that I'm thinking about it, I believe my memory is serving me that Wade began experimenting with drugs around the age of 13. So again, we really do not know when Wade found out that he was adopted. Maybe it was 13. Maybe that could have brought about the drug use and wanting to cope with it somehow, or feel happier by using drugs. So maybe he found out at 13 and started really having an identity crisis around 15, so bad to the point that this letter they were holding from him, from his biological mom until he was 18, they decided to give it to him then, hoping that, maybe it would simmer down his identity crisis, but it did not.
No, he's a boy. And I said, look, I have a good intuition about him. I said, are you sure it's just a boy thing? I said, he seems to have, his personality. I'm worried about him. No. I said, should we get into a therapist? He said, oh no, there's nothing wrong with him. So at that point, I thought, you know what? I don't.
What? And again, another strange reaction. So she takes her son to the doctor and, tells them that she's very worried about his personality. I'm curious if she told him about, Wade having an identity crisis, the adoption, anything like that. But the doctor just says, there's nothing wrong with him. He's just a boy, and no, he doesn't need to see a therapist. Uh, Maybe that happened that way. If so, I would really have to question that doctor, but it doesn't sound right.
I still don't feel good about this. So my husband, we got into another physician, and he said, well, if we feel something's wrong with him, then maybe there is. Let's go to a child's psychologist. So we did. And of course, that's when the diagnosis Wade with bipolar. I knew there was something wrong. We got medication for him. It was real good in the beginning to take it, but then as he got older and started feeling good, he didn't take it. Anyway, I do love him, and I hope you guys love him like I do.
So, she says that Wade is ultimately diagnosed with bipolar, but there's nothing about the adoption, the identity crisis, him repeatedly asking why they gave him away. None of that is addressed. None of that. And from what I've seen online, and of course, this is not all adoptive parents, but I've seen a lot of adoptees talk about adoptive parents getting defensive, coming on to threads and, being very snarky towards adoptees when they're talking about the adoption being traumatic for them, even though they had good families. It was still just a traumatic event. So adoptive parents feeling like, they don't want to be seen as failures. They don't want people to perceive them that way or perceive adoption as bad, because for them it was a very joyous thing. So there's some adoptive parents that just refuse to believe that adoption is a trauma to a child or to, the biological parent. They just do not see it that way, and they don't want to see it that way. So if she would have acknowledged that the adoption had a profound impact on Wade, and it wasn't just that he was bipolar, that he was acting this way, maybe if he had felt understood, somebody, anyone, had understood what he was feeling, probably. Maybe it would have made a difference. I don't know.
He's a big kid, he's a big guy, and he would never do this kind of stuff. I just know he wouldn't. And I know him. I know him more than anybody in this world. I know my son.
He wouldn't do this kind of stuff, even though, again, he admitted to multiple people, including his biological father, that he killed these two women, was convicted of it. As when she recorded this, again, Wade was already convicted to death, but she's still saying, he wouldn't do this kind of stuff. Not my son. Not my, precious baby boy that I obtained and that I raised and that was perfect. No, I know him. I know him better than anyone in this world. I know my son. And again, I think that Candy Wilson knew him the least. So, and I want to listen to Wade talk to his parents now. And what you're going to hear is he very much disregards his mother. It's he wants to talk to his dad. His dad is very important to him. You could tell he keeps asking for his dad. His mother expresses her love to him, and he just completely ignores it. There's a major disconnect here. Her undying, unconditional love for Wade and how she expresses that, and then him flatly just saying, you know, I'm not super close to my mom and she's old. So let's see. Not sure llama's drama. Hi, Grandma. 99 problems. How are you? Stuck in the system? Hi. Um, let's see. Not your llama's drama. I can't handle the words on the TV, her talking, and you stopping to repeat everything she says. I gotta find this interview somewhere else. I'm sorry. Maybe it's not for everyone. Oh, you booted her? Oh, that, well, whatever. I mean, I'll, the interview is, I'll link it in the description for people that don't want to hear my commentary. It's fine. Sometimes I get like that. I don't really want to hear people's commentary either. I just want to hear the video. I get frustrated. So I'm not taking that personally. But remove text, not blocked. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm trying to find where Wade. Okay, here we go. So we're gonna listen to a conversation with Wade from jail with his parents. Well, really with his mom, because his father barely says anything, which is very telling. This is phone calls from prison. That's where you can find this if you want to watch it without my commentary.
EVE Online is a vast...
Like that. Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, guys. Hang on a sec. I'm coming home, Mom.
Hello.
Hi, sweetheart. How are you?
Hey. Dude, is Dad around you? I need both of you guys.
Dad.
Oh, my God.
Immediately. We're not even 30 seconds into this call, and he's, you know, where's Dad? I need you both, but where is Dad? She is going to lie. She's going to easily just lie right to him that his dad's not there and instantly take it back. Very odd.
What's wrong?
What? When is he going to be home? I got something I need to tell both of you at the same time. When is he going to be home?
I don't know.
Why? Where is he?
Never mind. He's here. He just walked in.
All right.
Never mind. He just walked in. I'm sorry. You know, so she's lied to him right off the bat, and I'm just picturing Wade's dad in the background, like, no, don't tell him I'm here. I think it's really telling that his father is so silent, because from the mother's description, it seems that Wade had a much stronger bond with his dad. From his biological dad's description, Wade was very much a coward to men, but not to women. He was very aggressive to women. So you're going to hear him again just repeatedly ask for his dad.
Okay,
Tell him come here. Tell him come here. Both you guys. And then put the phone on speakerphone. You both come here.
It's on speakerphone and he can hear you, Wade.
Dad, can you hear me? All right, good. Listen. So you guys know I've been doing a lot of stuff with my social media, right? And my team that's been helping me. I got some great people, right? Like Jessie, for example, Dad, the girl you've been talking to, right? So I really haven't called like Mom for you, for example, because I've been dealing with this. It's been really hard, right? And, you know, unfortunately, it's been really difficult. But listen to this. I wanted to give you guys what's...
So just for context here, he has not talked to them in 3 months. From the day he was convicted, he did not call his adoptive parents for 3 months after conviction. And I that speaks volumes in and of itself, you know, because someone's sentenced to death, they're going to call the people that are the most familiar, the most comforting to them. And Wade just does not even call them for 3 months. And the explanation he gives is just, you know, it's just really hard. Just hard. So, you know, I didn't want to feel sad. I didn't want you to feel sad, so I just didn't call you. Which I think is a BS excuse, and I think it's just more that he's very detached from them. Even though, and the reason that he's calling them, by the way, is because he is being catfished at this moment by this woman named Ariel. And Ariel has him believing that she works for the Innocence Project and with Barry Sheck. So he's so excited. He's been calling everyone to tell them this, and he decides to include his adoptive parents that he hasn't talked to in 3 months in this very exciting news that he might get out of jail.
Just happened today, and we're going to follow up with this tomorrow. But here's all I wanted to tell you guys is the whole world believes that I'm innocent. The whole world does. Every country, everybody, and this is how much.
Do you see how he mirrors her bombastic speak? Everybody in the world believes he's innocent. Every country, everybody, which is wholly untrue. Okay? There are small pockets of people that believe he's innocent, and the large majority believe he is definitely guilty, mainly because he told us exactly what he did to these women. So
there's a lady, she's a Harvard graduate. She had a clothing company that she built up and sold for $2.2 billion. She's also a Harvard graduate law student. She's also an actress. Her name is Ariel, right? So somebody contacted one of my pages, and so we responded. It was a person said they wanted to get us in contact with somebody else. That person was Ariel. We just got her information. She checks out. It's literally her, the resume, everything, got her number. My people are texting with her. Ariel said that she works with a person by the name of Barry Sheck. Now, Barry Sheck works for something called the Innocence Project, which he created himself many years ago. Ariel works with Barry Sheck. Barry Sheck, Dad, are you hearing me?
Yeah, we hear you.
again, asking for his dad, excitedly recounting this Ariel person who is catfishing the crap out of him.
Okay, Barry Sheck was one of the lawyers for the Dream Team for O.J. Simpson. And these people want to take on my case and help me at no cost for free. And Ariel, the girl, has said that there's so many inconsistencies in my case. There's so much they believe in my innocence that not only does she think she can get me from the death penalty, get me better than that, but that she could exonerate me and get all of my charges to go away and walk me out a free person. That's what these people believe. That's why they want to help. That's what they want to help me for.
That's what they believe. Wade absolutely knows he's guilty. Again, he's admitted to his guilt multiple times. But so he's not saying, I'm innocent. He's just saying that's what they believe.
Was on the O.J. Simpson Dream Team. Yeah, that lawyer, Barry Sheck. And he works for he owns the Innocence Project. Yeah. So this is like, so this is like the biggest thing ever. Ever. These people believe and know that.
Maybe he did say big snake. He just said ever 5 times in a row. So maybe he did speak like that. But I feel like he learned to be exaggerative like that from Candy, because she talks the same way.
So they know that I was set up, and they want to help me, and they want to represent me.
Oh, wait.
They want to represent me. Yep.
Wait.
What do you think about that, Dad?
I think.
How about that?
That's
How about that?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So the lawyer I was.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's kind of weird how he keeps saying, what do you think about that, Dad, huh? What do you think about that? What do you think about that, huh? It's almost like he's like in your face, Dad. And I wonder why he's using that tone with him. Is it because he knows that his dad, I feel like the dad is a lot less delusional about who Wade is than his mom. Because I think, again, his dad knows Wade a lot better than the mom. The mom believes she knows him best. I don't think she does. I think his dad knows him a lot better. And I think his dad, probably, like everyone else, knows that he's not getting out of jail. And so it almost seems like Wade's like, what do you think about that? Uh-huh. See that? See that, Dad? See it? So, and his dad's only response is just, yeah, that's fantastic.
I was looking to hire right now just a guy that's in Florida, a really well-known person. He wants $250,000 to take my case. And he's good, he's well-known. But these people, Barry Scheck, I can only imagine how much it would cost.
Oh, man.
And they want to do this for free. And they're talking about they could overturn this and get me out of here, and return me to, win for me. So, yeah, we're working with them right now. That's what's going on. That just happened, but an hour ago. So, yeah, just thought I would let you guys know. So you can let Wendy know, because guess what? I'm not a monster. And guess what?
Wendy is his sister. That is the Wilson's biological daughter. Okay. So in her letter to the court for Wade, she said, lock up the monster, but spare the boy inside. Okay. So he's taking great offense, obviously, that she called him a monster, but he senselessly murdered 2 women. So,
but I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't do this. I'm not a monster.
So he's now going into delusion as well of, I didn't do this. I'm not a monster, and you can, if you've listened to enough Wade Wilson calls, you just hear that little crack in his voice when he says that, because he knows this is a lie.
I'm not a monster. You tell Wendy I'm not a monster either.
Wendy knows you're not. Did you ever hear her letter?
Yeah, she said lock up the monster, but don't kill the boy inside. Yeah, I'm not a monster either. Just saying. I know she probably. Nah, they didn't read that. I know she probably said that just to keep me from getting to the death penalty, and I appreciate that. But just so everyone knows, I'm not a monster, and I didn't do anything. So now these people that just stepped up, this is not only a blessing. This is more than I could ever hope for, or even consider affording. I don't even know how this happened. But it's gonna happen. It's happening. It's happening. All the people, everybody in the whole world, including you guys that are praying for me and stuff, I'm sure, the whole world believes that I'm innocent. Well, these people are gonna prove it.
Literally no one but the crazies believe that Wade is innocent. Wade himself even knows he's not innocent. His parents know that he is not innocent. Again, I will point out his dad's total silence. His mom is barely saying anything, but he'll talk over her even if she tries to. So
these people are gonna prove it.
Always praying.
And I'm gonna get out of here. I love you too.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, I love you too.
I haven't heard from you in so long.
I know, it's because I've been working on this so I can save my life. And I didn't want to call you because I don't want to be sad. And I've been nothing but sad. But now I feel better.
Oh, I'm glad.
So now I feel better. Remember these names so you could look them up. Ariel. I don't know if you want to remember this or not. So you guys can check it out if you want to, if you're interested. Ariel. First name is Ariel, Arielle. Last name. And then the other.
he's just rattling this off like they just grabbed a pen and are writing this down. They're not writing this down. Come on. His parents at their age probably definitely know who Barry Scheck is. And again, his dad is just completely silent because I think his dad knows this is a bunch of BS.
The guy that worked with O.J. Simpson, this guy's name is Barry, Barry, and his last name is Scheck, ECK, and he works with something called the Innocence Project. And Ariel is a Harvard law school graduate and also an actress.
Okay,
She's
Dad.
also an actress. Yeah, just so you guys can look into it. Yeah, you don't have to do it right now. I just did that for you guys. You guys check it out. So
Okay.
honestly, like this is probably something like I don't even know, man. Like it probably would have cost me like more than $1 million to afford these people right here
Wow.
to save my life like that. And they're doing it. They want to do this for free and help me save my life. You didn't see the links that I had Jesse send to your phone for my pages? You didn't look at them?
I love you so much.
Well, I just had Jesse talk to this girl, and she's gonna call her tomorrow. This Ariel, the lady literally told her they believe they can get me out of here because they know I'm innocent. So, well, you gotta. I love you a lot too, but you gotta just not be stressed because I'm gonna get these people. They're gonna get me out of here. So I just need you to relax so I can come home. I need you to take care of yourself
All right.
so I can come see you.
I love you.
You gotta relax. You gotta let yourself relax, please, so I can come see you when I get out of here.
All right.
Because we already talked about that. Me and you. You said if you get out of here, come see me this time, and I said I will. And now guess what happened?
You know, and there's a thing. He says, you know, you said come see me this time. So I just wonder, you know, Wade Wilson had been in jail prior to this before as well. He'd done a little jail bid. And so I wonder if last time they told him not to come see them or if he just didn't come see them. And I'm thinking he probably just didn't go see them because again, he's very detached from them. Uh so, you know, his mom's asking, you know, or he's saying, you know, this time when I get out of jail, you know, I'll come see you.
Happened. Now God blessed me with this to get me out of here. So I need you to take care of yourself, okay?
I will. I promise.
Promise?
Yes, I do promise. I love
And
you.
guess what else? Guess what else?
What?
My actual girlfriend. I'm not talking to a bunch of women or nothing no more like that. I stopped.
Okay, this is a complete lie as well. And I do want to touch on him saying, you know, take care of yourself. He's going to keep saying stuff like that she's got to stay calm. She's got to take care of herself. She's got to take care of herself. Because again, I think that Wade learned from a very young age how hysterical his mother is. And so, you know, the take care of yourself is more like the husband saying, you know, you got to stay calm. You can't become a basket case or you can't do this or that. So I think that's why he keeps saying that to her, but he's lying to her straight out right now that he doesn't have a bunch of women. At this time, there have been multiple calls released between Wade and other women than Jesse, who he's trying to tell his parents about. But yeah, he's talking to a slew of women at this point in time where he's lying right now.
Stopped all that stuff. So the girl that's been helping me, and her name is Jessie, and dad talks to her. She's such a good girl. This girl thinks the world of me, loves me to death, and she's the one that really saved my life. Because all the stuff on social media and stuff, she's been working so hard. She doesn't even sleep for the last 2 months. And do you know what she said to me, Mom? A couple of days ago she said, I hope I get to meet your parents. And I said, Jesse, you will. Listen, this girl is everything to me. And you know what, Mom? I hope that maybe if she comes to Tennessee to see her mom next week, that you would let her come see you guys would meet her.
What an odd request. You know, he's telling his mom how great this girl is. She's just everything. She saved him. She is just a good girl. And it's like Wade knows that he's bad. He's in jail. He's on death row. So he's like sending someone good to his parents. Like, look what I got. If this good person loves me so much, she doesn't even sleep. She's working on my case so hard. She adores me. If this good person can love me, that makes me not a monster. I'm good too. Look at the good person I'm trying to send to your doorstep on my behalf.
Because this is the girl that saved me. This is the girl that's literally got these lawyers for me and stuff and got me out of here. And she loves me with every bit of her heart. It would really mean a lot to me if you would meet her and stuff like that, and I think it would make you happy too. Trust me, she's everything. So maybe consider that, all right?
Okay, sweetheart.
She'll be going to see her mom next week. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, you
the best girl I've ever been with. Not trash. She's really good.
Not trash. So Wade's biological dad has said that Wade was always telling his adoptive parents, this is the girl. They even had bought rings for him to give various women. So he's trying to, I guess, convince his mother, even though he's lying through his teeth, that Jessie is actually the one, and she's not trash like the rest of the women that he brought around, apparently,
Yep.
I worried about
Am I what?
I hurt you too.
Nah, don't worry about me. You don't have to worry about me no more at all. I'm getting out of here.
Wait.
Just take care of yourself.
Take care of
listen, you can't worry about me and not take care of yourself, because then guess what? You're not going to let me have you and come hug you and love you again.
Say, Mom, if you become hysterical or you become a basket case, then I can't love you. You've got to take care of yourself so I can do that.
So I need you to just worry about yourself. I'm taken care of right now. I got this. But now I need you to take care of yourself. Just do that. Don't worry about me. I'm coming home. I need you to take care of yourself. Yeah. Mom, I'm coming home. I need you to take care of yourself. Nothing bad's going to happen to me at all. All you got to do is take care of yourself, and in a matter of time, not even that long, I'll be getting out of here. I'm fine. I'm going to be okay. You have to take care of yourself, okay?
Okay, baby.
Can you do that?
Presently, there is a picture going around of Wade Wilson with a yellow eye. Someone requested a proof of life photo of him because all of his privileges have been taken away, again, except letter writing. So the jail released a proof of life picture of him, and Wade has been beat up. So he's over here telling her, I'm going to be okay. This is in August. We're now in January, and somehow he's gotten beat up in jail.
I will.
Promise.
I will. I promise.
Promise?
I love you so much, baby.
All right, I love you too.
Okay. I'm so glad you called. I'm so glad you called.
So glad.
Well, I'll call more, all right? So make sure, tell Dad that right now that there's money on your phone.
I'm still here.
What do you say? Oh, Dad, make sure there's money on Mom's phone, please. I got $50,000 on my, listen, Mom, I have $60,000 in donations that I've accumulated, but now I just got these lawyers for free. So if this,
I got $50,000. I got $60,000, Mom, that I've accumulated.
if there's any money that's needed, you let me know and I'll tell Jesse and I'll put it on your phone. It doesn't matter, whatever we got to do.
Okay, sweetie.
I'm going to call you, okay? I promise.
Okay.
I love you.
I love you too, sweetheart.
Take care of yourself so I can get out of here. Listen, I could probably get out of here in like 12 months, Mom. Maybe a little bit longer. So you need to take good care of yourself.
Okay, honey, I will. I promise.
All right.
Okay, sweetheart.
All right. Good. All right, Dad, I love you.
You too.
We love you so much, baby.
All right. All right. I love you, Mom.
I love
I'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye.
All right. Bye, Dad. Bye, Mom.
Okay, so immediately after saying that, he calls Kelly and listen to what he says about his mom. He's just telling his mom, I love you, take care of yourself, so I can get out, I'm going to come see you. And then he has again, he that was the first call he made to them in 3 months.
Dude, I am over here talking to myself.
Why? Go ahead.
Because I'm like, this is fucking unbelievable. Like, this is fucking crazy.
Oh my God.
What did you do?
Yeah, dude.
Did you, like, go for a run or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Nah, you know what? I called my mom, man, and I'm not like super close with my mom, but she's like older.
Yeah.
Right after, I'm not super close to her and she's older. So I want to get out of this. Shadow Dancer. When Jesse met Wade, water found its own level. Yeah, seriously. Grandma, such a lying, manipulative POS. Serious parental regret at adopting this child. Taking a time out, he raises my blood pressure. Yeah, he's definitely the type of person to do that, but wanted to show, I think a lot could be learned about Wade Wilson if we learn about the traumas.
It's a book written by.
If we learn about the traumas of adoption, and it's not an excuse, it's just a possible explanation. So let's listen to this. There's a book called The Primal Wound. I've seen a lot of adoptees, when I was reading their stories, kind of hail this book as their Bible, so to speak. So let's just listen to what this book is about. And this is just a short video, but she does explain some stuff. So,
An adoptive mother about maternal separation and how that affects children, even newborns. Psychologists often talk about the first 3 years of life as being the most important years in emotional development. Our current understanding of prenatal psychology has made many realize that the environment in utero is an important part of a baby's well-being. Yet, when it comes to adoption, there seems to be a blackout in awareness. There seems to be a reluctance to recognize that at the moment of birth, in the next few days, weeks, or months in the life of a child, when he is separated from his mother and handed over to strangers, he could be profoundly affected by this experience. What does it mean that we have for so long wanted to ignore this? That the child does not consciously remember it will not diminish the impact of it. How many of us remember very much about the first 3 years of our lives? Does our lack of memory mean that those 3 years have had no impact on us? Are we to believe that if a person can successfully keep those experiences from consciousness, they will not affect his or her future relationships? In the case of abuse, we have now at least begun to recognize that there is indeed a profound lifelong effect on the person, an effect which often requires years of therapy to overcome. Yet, what if the most abusive thing which can happen to a child is that he is taken from his mother? She then goes on to talk about how a small child will still choose their abusive mother over a non-abusive caregiver. Not to endorse staying within an abusive family, but just to understand that in the mind of a child, all they want is their mother. We are biologically wired to want our mother because we bond in utero. She then goes on to say, what the general population considers to be a concept, a social solution for the care of children who cannot or will not be taken care of by their biological parents, is really a two-part, devastating, debilitating experience for the child. The first part of the experience is the abandonment itself. No matter how much the mother wanted to keep her baby, and no matter what the altruistic or intellectual reasons she had for relinquishing him or her, the child experiences the separation as abandonment. The narrative that we give about adoption being a choice made out of love, they loved you so much they came to this decision, what that teaches a small child who between the ages of 0 and 3 is forming all of their subconscious beliefs about the world and themselves. When you tell them that decision was made out of pure love, what that actually ends up doing for the child as an adoptee is it starts to associate the idea of love with abandonment, someone who's not around. I think what a lot of people need to realize is that adoptees talking about this is because that little baby is going to become an adult. The only people who can truly advocate for them and what their experiences are going to be like as an adult unpacking this is other adoptees. Adopted babies don't have anyone to advocate for them because there are personal interests involved with all the adults. So it really bums me out that there's so many people who are so resistant to the idea that adoption is trauma because they're an adoptive parent, because they're a prospective adoptive parent, they may be infertile, and they see that as an altruistic solution, that's not a reason to come into the comment of adoptee videos like my friend Megan and try to argue about it. Sometimes I struggle reading her comments because it's triggering to the newborn baby in me who had no one around who knew this information. Because a big part of how trauma is experienced and how traumatized a kid ends up being is whether or not the adults in their life understand what they may be going through and can be there for them and validate their emotions. If you have a caregiver who understands that, it can mitigate so much of the trauma.
So I think that was well said. And I think it can be said that Candy Wilson did not understand this. She observed Wade having an identity crisis, but she was unable to help him. She took him to a doctor who diagnosed him with bipolar disorder, but the trauma of adoption was just never addressed. And again, when she speaks of the biological mother who also experienced trauma from this, she doesn't really show any empathy for this young girl who laid her baby on the couch. She just says, but anyway, she left and we took over. And for her and her perspective, I think it was just that simple. We're going to just love this baby to death, smother him in love, and everything's going to be great. With no real understanding of the trauma that just occurred between mother and child, and how that was going to impact Wade later on. And I don't know that she has any knowledge of that now. I've listened to so many Wade Wilson calls, and he is the most awful human, truly. I mean, I've never seen a person so unremorseful. You can tell it just doesn't exist. He has no remorse for what he did, but looking at him through the lens of a child and through the adoption and all of that, it does not excuse him murdering anyone. There are tons of adopted people that do not murder anyone. Okay. But maybe we can attempt to make sense again of the senseless. But I do think that adoptive, because what I was reading from adoptive parents, there were adoptive parents that were very defensive. They just felt like it was a slap in the face, sort of, because for them it was giving all of this love to this child and giving this child a life they otherwise probably would not have had. And so for this child to express that they have trauma from that adoption, there are some adoptive parents that really see this as disrespectful and ungrateful. And I've seen those comments. And it's just a lack of understanding, that this really isn't about them. It has nothing to do with how great of a parent you were. You were a great parent. It's just this child experienced this trauma, and it's not your fault, but it's there, and it has to be acknowledged. And if it is, maybe we can have less Wade Wilsons. That's my thinking. So Shadow Dancer says, didn't he staple his school shirt to his arm when he was a young boy? Yes. Yes, he did. Shadow Dancer. And Shadow Dancer is saying, son of Sam was told by his adoptive parents that his mother died in childbirth. He blamed himself all his life until he actually found her. I'm not correlating the two or saying it excuses them. Exactly. We're just analyzing here. This isn't poor Wade. No wonder he killed two women. No, it's not that. It's just trying to, again, come to some sort of maybe understanding of why a person would would get to this place. And I think for Wade, it is a lot of unresolved, unacknowledged trauma from the adoption. And the only person that I've actually heard talk about that is his biological father, Steve. Um, he has said that Wade's biological mother to this day is still struggles with the adoption, that she turned to substances just like Wade did, um, to cope, um, and she is still a drug addict to this day. So that trauma had a profound impact on the rest of her life, something that she still struggles with. And I am going to just theorize that I think Wade Wilson probably struggles with it as well. I think that's probably the one thing that you would see him show emotion. And in fact, when the judge was handing down his sentence, he had this very bravado stance. But when the judge mentions him feeling abandoned by his biological parents and being adopted, it's the only time that you see emotion from Wade Wilson. He gulps, and he almost looks a little stunned that the judge said that. But you could tell that the judge definitely hit a spot with him when that was mentioned. So, yeah, I think that for people, now that abortion is banned, I'm just going to assume that we're going to have a lot more adoptions. Um, I think it would be really good for adoptive parents, especially because the experience is so much different for them. Again, it's one of joy, not one of trauma. So I think it would be very good for the adoptive parents, especially, to take some courses or be mandated to do so before adopting a child so that they can have an understanding of what this experience is going to be like for the child and not just them, you know. Okay, guys, we are at 2 hours, a very long live stream. So I'm going to end this here. Thank you for being here. Shadow, I'm going to read your comment, and then I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. Shadow Dancer said, he really is a vile, vicious, bad seed. His behavior and language is mortifying and shocking. He's a total nut job. He truly is. Especially if I'm a Patreon to phone calls with prison, so I've heard the sexually explicit calls. He is a deviant in every sense of the word. So, all right, guys, I will see you next time. Bye for now.